It is the 4th of September. You're just in time for your most comprehensive news updates at this hour. This is NTV at 1. I am Amboko, Julians. Senior officials at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, Jubilee Party Vice Chairman David Murathe and Meru County First Lady Priscilla Kiraitu are among some of the persons of interest expected at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission offices in Nairobi's community area. They are expected to shed more light on the alleged misappropriation of public funds. Leila Mohammed is on location and gives us the latest. Leila, who is the EACC currently grilling?
Well, in just the last 5 minutes, Kiprono Kitoni, the former chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and a very senior official in the business sector, has just arrived here. This is different from the Revolving Doors of Integrity Center, but however, the EACC is based here, and the summons by the EACC to those individuals, those persons of interest, were sent out as earlier in the week for them to be here to answer to questions based on the KEMSA probe. So the only individual who is here currently is Kiprono Kitoni. We have been hearing of David Murathe, Vice Chair, who retired from the Jubilee Party, also as a person of interest. He has been being reported to be on his way here. We are also waiting for Kiraitu Murungi's wife, Priscilla Kiraitu, to be here, and others who are persons of interest in the KEMSA probe. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta earlier in the week gave a 21-day ultimatum to the relevant agencies to investigate the matter and to put to book all those who will be found culpable for any offenses of corruption or economic nature. Here, the EACC is also investigating other matters as they concur with this one of the KEMSA probe. The Lari Member of Parliament, John Mburu, has been here since very early in the morning on a different probe involving the loss of possibly 27 million shillings in CDF funds. He is co-accused with other officials from the Lari CDF management. One of the officers, Ayan Mahadi, had already taken a flight to the Eldoret area earlier in the morning. She has been arrested there and will be on her way to Nairobi to answer key questions. So for the moment, various investigations are going on concurrently. The key case could be the probe into the KEMSA scandal, the alleged loss of millions of shillings and the misappropriation of funds. So those persons of interest will be on our radar as well. We will be able to bring you more details as and when they arrive. But for the moment, those persons other than Kiprono Kitoni are not within the precincts of this area where the EAC offices are based at the moment.
Many thanks, Leila Mohammed, for that update from the EACC offices in Nairobi. Of course, we'll be following up to see the developments and bring you more comprehensive stories later in the day. Elsewhere, about staying with matters investigation, Lari Member of Parliament John Mburu was this morning arrested by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission officers for alleged involvement in corruption at the constituency office. The MPs, among others working at the CDF office, identified as Ayan Mahadi, John Mburu Mwangi, Peter Mugo Mwangi, Grace Muthoni, Francis Gashoga Kamuyu, and a contractor Paul Kinyanjui Musheru. 5 other suspects were arrested today except Musheru, who has been directed to present himself at the Commission's offices immediately. They are accused of embezzling over 27 million shillings worth of public funds in 2019 under the Lari National Government Constituency Development Fund. According to the arrest report, payments were made to various companies irregularly. And I'm made to understand the name is Paul Nyanjui, not Paul Kinyanjui. My apologies for that. On to matters finance. The National Treasury now says that its hands are tied as far as disbursing funds to counties is concerned, owing to the stalemate over the revenue sharing formula at the Senate. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani says that the recurrent stalemate on matters division of revenue and equitable share of funds is unfortunate, as it is undermining the optimal functioning of the country's public finance architecture. The stalemate at the Senate has delayed the release of 316 billion shillings worth of equitable share funds to the devolved governments.
The advisory we received from the Attorney General is that Treasury cannot disburse resources to the counties on the basis of division of revenue alone. It has to be appropriated, there has to be some agreement at the Senate. So that's where we are. If we have actually now gone back to the National Assembly to explore possibility of enacting an attendant legislation to give us powers to disburse resources to the counties to the tune of 50%. That is the National Assembly. So what the Senate was purporting has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the county, with the National Assembly.
Still on matters public finance, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, is banking on the third public sector remuneration review cycle, which was launched this morning, and other measures to continue managing the country's public sector wage bill. In the financial year 2018-2019, the wage bill as a percentage of revenue stood at 48.1%, but the Commission says the ratio will keep improving if more measures are implemented and revenue collections improve.
It's a balancing act because on one hand, the public sector has to attract and retain the skills that they require to deliver its mandate, and that's an important principle even in the Constitution. On the other hand, the Act is very clear, PFM Act, that we should not exceed 35%, and that is the balance that has been happening both in the first cycle and the second cycle, and will continue in the third cycle. That even as we do surveys to establish what is in the market, whatever results we get, and even the job evaluation results, that has to be looked at in the context of, can the economy afford? Are we able to reach the 35%? Will we achieve 35% in third remuneration cycle? We will not reach 35% at a go. As you have seen, it has been a trend. So the objective is to continue towards that direction to the 35%.
The issue of the public sector wage bill just won't go away, and we'll, of course, be keeping tabs on that to see how it develops. Kenya's efforts to tap into more affordable funding from bilateral partners received a shot in the arm this morning following the signing of an agreement to unlock 1.02 billion shillings in grant funding from Japan. Documents from the National Treasury show that the funding will be used in the provision of medical equipment to help realization of the universal healthcare agenda of the government. The government has also signed an agreement for 243 million shillings worth of grant funding to support the training of Kenyan public sector officials in institutions in Japan. Last week, Kenya signed an agreement for 8.1 billion shillings worth of a loan from Japan.
The first exchange of notes we have signed today for a grant of 1.02 billion Kenyan shilling for the provision of medical equipment will be installed in various health facilities and will greatly enhance healthcare delivery to Kenyans, as well as modernize health facilities countrywide.
Last week in this room, I signed the exchange of notes for 80 billion, more than 80 billion Kenyan shilling loan to support the Kenyan people's fight against ongoing pandemic and to contribute towards the attainment of universal health coverage in Kenya.
Now from matters public finance, the government has banned all quarrying activities in Mandera County following intelligence reports, which have shown that mines have become a target for the Al-Shabaab terrorist group. Northeastern Regional Commissioner Nicodemus Dalana stated that the decision was reached by the National Security Committee. He added that these were part of the measures to tighten security in the area and warned against contravening the directive. Quarry workers have, however, asked the government to reconsider its decision. In 2014, 36 quarry workers were killed in Koromei mines in Mandera East, forcing the government to shut down the quarries.
Hawa Al-Shabaab wakikosa hard targets wanatafuta soft target, na soft target moja ni kama hao watu ambao wanakaa kwa timbo kukata mawe, na tunaelewa vizuri. Na nataka kuambia watu wa kaunti hii, waliona vile ilifanyika miaka iliyopita. Tulipoteza watu karibu 100 na wakati huu hatutaki kupoteza hata mmoja.
Tukuja hapa kutembea, tulikuja kutafuta ili tuweze kusaidia wenye tumewacha nyuma. Tuko na watoto na tuko na wazazi tunalisha, na pasipo mikono yangu hawa watu hawezi kula. Hiyo muda yote imeenda ya corona, sijakutana na mtu mmoja kaniambia mimi ni mfanyakazi wa serikali na kupea hii 500 uende ununulie watoto chakula. Ninafanya kazi kwa nguvu yangu ndio nipate.
Some pertinent questions being raised there by that gentleman. More than 200 families in Bararget area, Kuresoi South, risk losing their homes after new beacons were put up by the Kenya Forest Services. According to the residents, the newly cut lines deep into their homes. The residents protested while displaying their title deeds, arguing that the KFS moved beyond the boundaries of the land they were allocated. The families claimed they were resettled from the Njoro constituency by the late former President Daniel Arap Moi and were later issued with title deeds in 2005 by former President Mwai Kibaki. The Mau Forest eviction process was temporarily stopped by a Nakuru court in late July until a case filed by locals is heard and determined.
Title deed tuko nayo, natembea nasema ni karatasi. Na tunashindwa kama hii president ya kwanza walikuwa wanatupea makaratasi ya nini basi atupe? Tungekaa bure bila title deed basi.
Sisi serikali tutaenda wapi? Tuko na watoto. Tulitokea huko Rare. Watu aliuliwa watu wengi mpaka akachimba simba kubwa. Akaweka watu yote hapa ndani. Serikali nyinyi angalia sisi. Tutalia mpaka siku gani?
Human rights defenders have joined hands in piling pressure on the government to establish a joint peace and justice committee as a way of finding solutions on the ongoing skirmishes involving communities living in the Mau region. Speaking in Nakuru, the human rights group cited the lack of title deeds as the major cause of conflict. The group is now asking the communities living in the region to commit to cessation of violence and promotion of peaceful and mutual coexistence.
Nadhani sasa tayari miaka ni 23 kutoka sisi tukua kotini. Na hata kwa ajabu ni kwamba mimi wakati huo mimi nilijiunga na wenye walikuwa wanaenda kotini, hata nilikuwa na umri mdogo, na sasa tayari pia naona hata mimi mwenyewe nimekomaa, na baadaye tunaona uamuzi kisha toka na itekelezwe. Nadhani hiyo itakuwa ni lasting solution. Hatutahangaika na mandugu zetu wale ambao sasa tayari hatuna shida ya kuhangaika pamoja, sababu hata kama wana haki wanatosha kupata haki yao.
The government, through Provisional Administration and National Cohesion and Integration Commission and the civil society, should immediately establish a joint peace justice committees and forums to foster honest conversation and durable solutions among the affected communities. We also propose the enactment of the Nakuru County Peace Bill and implementation of the Nakuru County Violence Prevention Policy, especially on land issues.
And let's get on to some exciting news. Nation Media Group is set to cement its position on the digital landscape this evening through the launch of its new brand, Nation.Africa. East and Central Africa's largest media house will create and deliver quality content around the continent. From the news as it unfolds to the research and tools needed to explain Africa's transformational journey and its significance in the livelihoods of its growing population. Nation.Africa will pivot available channels in print, broadcast and digital to reach and serve the company's consumers with the content and services which speak value and resonate with their expectations. The group is banking on its large online presence to ramp up revenues from the 3.3 billion shillings registered in the period ended June 2020. Nation Media now plans to leverage on the swelling internet traffic and its websites to monetize online audiences into diversified revenue streams. The unveil of the new brand is set to kick off at 4 p.m. today.
Our dream is to become the biggest mobile content provider in Africa, first and foremost. Number two, it is to stop being a printer and the people who deal in metallic things and to become a center of technology. And number three is for the nation to become a center of customer excellence, where we treat the people who come to us very well.
There was one thing which has driven this journey so far is actually the dream and the belief that we need to change and we need to transform this business. So my initial comment is actually to thank the team I think we all played a significant role. We had long meetings, and then came COVID. We had to change how we were running our business.
And be sure to join us starting 4 p.m. on all our social media channels to follow up on the launch of the Nation.Africa. Elsewhere, sugarcane farmers in Kakamega and Bungoma counties are optimistic that their transport challenges are behind them for now. West Kenya Sugar Factory has purchased 19 brand new tractors and trucks to support sugar production. While unveiling the heavy machinery at Misihu Weighing Bridge in Bungoma County, West Kenya Sugar Chairperson Jaswant Rai said the investment would ensure production is optimized. Sugarcane harvesting from the plantations and subsequent transportation to West Kenya Factory has sometimes been a challenge, coupled with bad state of roads in the region. West Kenya controls 29% share, followed by Sukari Industries at 11%, with Ole Pito coming in third with 2% of the total 290,000 ton sugar sales reported between January and June this year.
Tumeanzisha mtindo ambao unaitwa block harvesting. Tukivamia area moja, tunahakikisha kwamba tumebeba miwa yote wakulima kulingana na vile tumepanga block harvesting.
We want to aim to have cane on the ground from cut to crush within 24 to 30 hours, 30 hours maximum. This will help the farmers. It will get us better quality cane and hence better quality sugar.
And not too long ago, I was interviewing the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, discussing the issue of leasing of sugar mills to try and unpack the state of the sector. And of course, at this point, we take a break. NTV at 1 will be back with a lot more stories. Don't go too far.
Unajua ukikula supu moja utakuwa na superpowers.
Let me try. Jiamini.
Wow. Indomie, now available in chicken, beef, and supermojo. Jiamini.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Welcome back to NTV at 1. Gender-based violence during the coronavirus pandemic has focused mainly on women and children. However, quite a number of men have been suffering in silence from fear of stigmatization. Our reporter in the Rift Valley region, Ruth Sarmway, tells us more of the victims of domestic abuse in Baringo South.
James Lekatich is nursing a spinal injury that left him partially deaf after he attempted to take his own life. James is a survivor of domestic violence. It all started when he failed to provide for his family due to his heavy drinking. This resulted to a series of fights with his wife. They eventually separated, and the separation took a toll on him and he fell into depression. He now depends on his aging mother for care and daily upkeep, as he can barely do anything for himself. According to residents, gender-based violence has spiked during the coronavirus pandemic.
Unastukia hapa juu saa 1 asubuhi. Ndio hiyo nduru. Watoto wanawana, baba na mama wamewana, mara mwingine amekatwa kichwa. Kama hakuna kibarua, hakuna chakula, kafyu iko. Unajua unaweza kosa hata kurokota hata shilingi 10, hata 5. Ukifika mtoto anakutangulia wapi roge? Baba ameleta nini?
Life has been extremely tough for Mohammed after he lost his touting job when travel restrictions were introduced. The only available manual jobs can barely bring food to the table. This, he offers, has brought constant fights in the house.
COVID-19 imetuletea tabu. Lakini ukuta maji amechemsha hapo. Anangojea unga uje kuja naye. Sio maji na kufea. Sasa kama hujui kuepa budabusi. Hapo umepoteza.
Lois Muge has taken up the responsibility of offering free counseling services to gender-based violence victims in the community.
There is a lot of gender-based violence in our county that is brought about by lack of jobs. I think economic pressure, economic problem has really led to all this trouble that we have in houses.
The group is now supporting 100 victims of gender-based violence and is calling on well-wishers to support their campaign.
A mind which is not stable, you will not have, the life of that person will not be 100%, will not be good. So we need to empower these people. We need to give them counseling. Other than giving them drugs, counseling is a very good way of making somebody to be alive, just giving them acceptance.
Ruth Sarmui, NTV.
Now this weekend, the NTV news team is in Tharaka Nithi for the county edition. One area of focus will be health in light of the coronavirus pandemic. The county government there says it has put in place measures to combat the coronavirus pandemic. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi speaks to the CEC Health Gishuya Marias to give us a report on the county's preparedness.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Julians. There, that word is pronounced as Gishuya Ntwariara. Yes. That's the pronunciation, but we have to adjust to the new life, and that is why we have to do this live link in a mask. But one of the things that we'll be looking at is the question of how prepared the county is when it comes to coronavirus. Remember, after the borders were open and also since the first case was reported in March, the burden is now being shouldered by the counties. And right now we want to speak to the CEC Health just to tell us how prepared is the county with regards to this coronavirus, and have you reported any cases this far?
Thank you, Bwana Mureithi. We actually are fully prepared according to the guidelines that we were given by the World Health Organization and the national government. We set up the committees which are usually co-chaired by His Excellency the Governor of Tharaka Nithi, Muthomi Njuki, and the County Commissioner, Madam Bivale Wapora. And we set up prevention and treatment committees. And from that time, we have tested cumulatively 1,062 samples from our people, the whole county. And out of those 1,062 samples, we have 39 that turned positive. And up to now, we have only 3 clients that are in isolation. These are police remandees who already have finished their 21 days. And you know that the guidelines are that once you take 10 to 14 days after the initial diagnosis and there are no symptoms, then you are no longer ineffective.
I know, and I'm saying this because, Julians, we are at one of the isolation units, and that is where he says, and what you could actually see is that there is already a team that is in place. And we'll go as far as also asking the question, Daktari, is, are you prepared with regards to what the government had said? We know there was a bed capacity of 300 that had been put by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Have you reached that capacity as a county?
As a matter of fact, Bwana Mureithi, we have reached 345 that are ready, and we have the capacity of even having 485 already. It's only that from what you can see, we have only 3 patients who are already inside. And you know, we have already started the home-based care, because if you are asymptomatic, there is no point of admitting you in a ward. So we have home-based care, and the total that we have of home-based care clients today are 125. And out of these, we have already discharged 17 of them, and we have a recovery of 26 people from this home-based care. And fortunately, we have lost 4 patients cumulatively, giving us a case fatality rate of 0.38%, and the positivity rate among the tested samples, 3.7% of the positivity rate. In other words, among those that are tested, how many turn positive? That is the positivity rate. And we have already set aside isolation units together with the intensive care units, 14 of them in the county, and we have spread out our facilities to be able to take care of these patients. We have also trained our staff in diagnosing and tracking down, responding to emergencies, and doing case contact tracing, and so far we are doing well.
Now, probably the last question is on prevention before we go back, and there's the question of the community health volunteers. How are you using them to enlighten the residents of this county with regards to making sure that coronavirus is kept at bay? And we'll ask you to probably go very fast so that you can go back to studio.
Yes, we have 1,000 community health volunteers, and we have deployed them in every home. In every home, we have 97,949 homes, and each home is covered by a team of health volunteers who go to send the messages on how to prevent coronavirus, washing hands frequently with water and soap, and putting on a mask, face mask, and making sure that people do not congregate in proximity one from the other person. So those community health volunteers are the ones who have helped us to keep coronavirus away from the Kanithi county compared to the other counties.
Thank you.
You realize we got the first case on 17th of July this year. We stayed corona-free until the floodgates were opened, and you remember when.
Thank you very much. Julians, this is just some of the stories that we'll be packaging for you later on when our colleagues come in, and we'll be doing a comprehensive story, not just on health, but also on the development that has been able to be done since devolution came in 2013. But right now, it's back to you, Julians, in studio.
Many thanks, Kennedy Mureithi, and certainly my apologies to the CEC for Tharaka Nithi County for mispronouncing his name. No offense meant at all. Elsewhere, the World Health Organization says it will push for 220 million doses for Africa when the vaccine for COVID-19 becomes available. The Vaccine Alliance and the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations are part of the initiative known as COVAX. This as the number of confirmed cases rises to 26.4 million cases.
Across the world, governments are hoping to announce a vaccine as soon as possible and roll out treatments for the novel coronavirus, which has killed more than 860,000 people and infected over 26 million. There are more than 1.2 million confirmed cases in Africa and slightly over 30,000 deaths.
Once there is a vaccine that is licensed and approved, COVAX will work to secure at least 220 million doses of vaccine for the continent. This will not necessarily cover all the needs of the continent, but at least will cover 20% of the African population, initially prioritizing those who are at the front line, the healthcare workers, then expanding to cover vulnerable groups such as the elderly or those with a pre-existing condition.
Pharmaceutical company executives insisted Thursday that they would not try to bring COVID-19 vaccines or treatments to market that did not meet rigorous safety and efficiency standards.
We are in a very advanced.
Right, and we continue with the news to highlight some of the sports developments across the field. And just to delve into that subject regarding developments which are happening on the world of sports, and Nick Mwenda, that is the Football Kenya Federation president, has confirmed that sports activities were suspended in March due to COVID-19 and they should be resuming. Football will return to action next month. That is, as far as we are concerned, getting information from Nick Mwenda, who of course is the FKF president. But moving on, four-time Olympic champion Mo Farah will make his return to the track in today's Diamond League meeting in Brussels, 3 years after having opted for road running. Farah, who won 5,000 to 10,000 meter doubles at both London and Rio Olympics, will target Ethiopian Haile Gabriel Selassie's record of 21.285 kilometers run in 1 hour set back in 2007. Farah, who aims to compete in the 10,000 meters at next year's postponed Tokyo Olympics, will return to road racing next month when he acts as a pace setter in the London Marathon for Kenya's world record holder Eliud Kipchoge and Ethiopian Kenenisa Bekele. Sifan Hassan of the Netherlands headlines the women's 1 hour race, competing against Kenya's
will put her second on the all-time list. And I said to him,
18.52 kilometers set by Ethiopian Dere Tune Arisi in 2008. Women's 1,500 meter Olympic champion Faith Chepngetich will also be in action. Today's meet will take place behind closed doors.
Only one person has ever run quicker than that. That was Mastakova all those years ago, 1996. A national record for Muir, finally taking the record away from Kelly Holmes and beating her training partner Gemma Riki. Great performance from her as well.
And back to our top sports story. Federation President Nick Mwenda confirmed that Kenya football will return to action from next month. Sports activities were suspended in March due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ministry ilitisha mpangilio wetu wa football. Monday inakuja tuwapatia mpangilio tutafanya nini. Tunatarajia kuanza training tena kuanzia tarehe 15 mwezi wa 9, alafu mwezi moja baadaye ligi kuu ya Betking Premier League itakuwa inaanza hapo katika tarehe 20 ama tarehe 25. Ministry tupatie go ahead basi tafanya, lakini la muhimu kuelewa ni kwamba sasa lazima tutatest wachezaji wote katika hizo ligi zote. Watakwenda testing mara 2, watarudi sasa ndio waanze, kabla waanze training watakwenda testing, alafu ndio utarudi waanze waje kuanza kutrain. Baada ya hapo sasa tutaanza mechi, tutafanya protocol nzuri katika kila kiwanja. Hakuna fans kwa miezi zingine kadhaa, na lazima tufanye protocol nzuri, fumigation, na kuhakikisha kwamba tunafuata hizo protocol wachezaji wakicheza.
And on the international scene, Jose Luis Gaya's late goal gave Spain a 1-1 draw away in Germany on Thursday as the start of the UEFA Nations League marked the return of international football in Europe following a hiatus of 10 months due to the coronavirus pandemic. Earlier, new Chelsea striker Timo Werner had given Germany the lead just after halftime in an entertaining contest between the two of the last 3 World Cup winners.